Since the release of the Canon R5, overheating has been the big discussion point on the internet, and to be honest, rightly so. I mean, this isn't a small issue which you can work around for most jobs. The overheating prevention limits on this camera, let's be clear, completely dictate the way that you use this camera for video work. We did want to make this video though to summarize which modes you need to worry about overheating in and which ones you don't, because we've understandably had lots of very concerned customers reaching out to us because they've been reading things online suggesting that the R5 can't be used at all for professional video, which is just not the case. I mean, there are modes where that is true. You aren't going to be shooting 8K RAW for a complete professional project on this camera, for example. But there are also modes where you can run all day for a corporate shoot or a documentary or a wedding without any concerns at all. So let's start by going over the problem modes which you're going to be significantly limited in. Unsurprisingly, 8K RAW and 4K 120p are the worst culprits here by far. You can only record them internally, not over the HDMI port, and in 8K RAW you're going to get around 20 minutes. And in 4K 120p, that's 15 minutes. But the big problem isn't simply how long you can record for. 15 minutes of 4K 120p, for example, is actually a lot of recording time and more than most people would need to use that mode for at a time. The problem really is once you use up those 15 minutes, you then can't record that mode again, or even a different one that overheats until the camera has been turned off for at least an hour. You can carry on filming, just not in those overheating modes. So you can turn your camera on for the day, film 15 minutes of 4K 120p, and then as long as you want in the normal 4K 25p mode, but you're never going to get your 15 minutes of 4K 120p back until you can turn the camera off for at least an hour. And to make matters even worse, you aren't able to save those 15 minutes of 4K 120p for when you need them either, as if you film a bit for normal 4K, or even spend a while taking stills, the camera has heated up enough for you not to get your whole 15 minutes of high frame rate recording. So really, 8K or 120p recording is just not going to be anywhere near reliable enough for most professional work. But that's not to say there won't be some situations where it will be very useful. The example I keep giving customers and going back to is using that 8K mode for a big wide establishing shot of your location. And if you do that first, when you first get there, that will be an incredibly detailed wide shot which will look great in the edit. Or even if you're in the middle of a wedding or a corporate shoot, and if you turn the camera off for 10 minutes, you get another 3 minutes of that 8K. So turn the camera off while you walk out to the outside of the building you're filming in and find a good viewpoint, and you should be able to get at least a couple of minutes of that wide shot in glorious 8K. But I mean, let's not pretend that that's ideal. This is not how any professional wants to work if they have any choice in the matter. There are then also a few modes which also overheat, but you can get around it if you need to. There's the 4K HQ mode, which is downsampled from the 8K. And this is probably my favourite mode of the bunch in this camera. The pictures are just fantastic, without needing to deal with the extra storage which you need for 8K. But it does overheat. You get 30 minutes internally and around 45 minutes externally. Interestingly though, through all the fantastic overheating tests that people out there have been doing for themselves, people have discovered, once they've got their hands on this camera and done their own tests, that if you record externally with no card in the camera's card slot, you can actually get 3 to 4 hours of 4K HQ mode before the camera shuts down. Now, this may be a bit of an unintended bug that gets around Canon's safety limitations, so we don't know if it has any potential to damage your camera, and please do keep that in mind. But now, all of a sudden, that oversampled mode is looking a lot more usable for some projects. 3 to 4 hours of continuous recording should get you through most jobs. But you'll have to use something like a Ninja 5 on top of the camera, which adds bulk that you often don't want on a hybrid camera like this. Although the 4K HQ mode is going to be really good quality for a camera like this. 4K 50p or 60p also overheats in around 35 minutes. But it doesn't seem to overheat at all when recording externally. If you want to crop in with the 4K 60 though, it's going to overheat in around half an hour, whether you're recording internally or externally. So, with all those modes putting limits on you to prevent overheating, I'm not surprised at all that many people are wondering, what can you actually record with this camera without getting any overheating? And the answer is simple. It's just regular, no frills 4K 25p. No matter what else you do with the camera, no matter how far you push it with overheating, you always have that to fall back on so that you can carry on working. So it's certainly far from perfect. There's no high frame rates without overheating, and it's not as high quality as those other modes that are available in the camera. But this is the first Canon mirrorless camera to give us full frame 4K recording. It has fantastic image stabilization, a brilliant DVF, it's got Canon's dual pixel autofocus performance, and of course, it's one of the best stills cameras on the market, let's not forget that. There's a lot to love about this camera. So for some people, as a hybrid camera, particularly those people who tend to do slightly more stills work than video work, but still do quite a bit of video work, this is going to be great. It'll be a real professional workhorse. And it's still very early days with these cameras. There's lots of talk online about Canon releasing some kind of firmware to give you the ability to push the camera further if you want to. Now, I'd love to see that, of course I would, but it is just a rumor. It's possible that it might never come. So for now, hopefully this video has helped clarify what the camera can do and what it can't do so that you can figure out whether or not it's going to do the job for you and your work, and so that you can make an informed purchase decision when picking one of these up. Because for a lot of people out there that need a true hybrid camera, this is going to be one of the best options on the market for them, even if it is far from a perfect camera. So if you're looking at buying an R5 for yourself, then head over to proV.co.uk, or of course just get in touch with our sales team. If you've got any questions, just leave them below. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.